Nicole. I'm from Birth Into Being Australia. I am hosting a series of conversations with women who do amazing work around birth. And today I'm talking with Nicole from Sound Birth. And she's a mother of 4 home-birthed, homeschooled children and a practitioner of sound. Sound is her song, and she has developed a fabulous modality that assists couples and women as they're approaching birth and possibly even in birth itself. Do you work with? Yeah. And I am convinced that there is loads of overlap between the two of our different modalities, and I wanted to explore this. So, Nicole, thanks for coming to my series of conversations and being willing to share with us your wisdom and expertise and tell us about sound birth.
Well, thank you for having me. I love sharing sound birth with people. Well, sound birth is all about using sound to support women during labour. And it kind of came across because I've got this deep passion for the use of music and sound in people's lives in general. Always have, since I discovered there was such a thing as music therapy. And so I've kind of been, reading and doing some bits and pieces of work since I was about 20 or so in music and sound therapy, just in my own work, not actually trained in it, but just doing my own work and experience. And I found myself during my 3rd labour using one of the tools that I'd collected over the years, which happened to be a crystal singing bowl sitting in the room where I was in labour. My mum started to play the bowl just intuitively. I didn't ask her to or anything. And I found it was just an amazing, useful tool compared to my previous 2 labours. It just made such a huge difference that I decided to come up with a program to share with the rest of the world because I was so excited about it. Put my 2 passions together and bang, it's been really amazing. What I found with my 3rd labour when the bowl started to play, because it's so resonant and it filled the room with sound, I felt it was okay then for me to make sound. And so I started to just play with my voice for the first time and sing along with the bowl sound, just by making R sounds and O sounds and, very neutral, birthy sounds, but with the sound of the bowl. And because my musical background, I guess I was playing a little bit more and playing in harmony with it, singing in harmony with it, singing slightly off pitch with it and getting into more of a playful state. So I started to enjoy it and I started to get into the zone, and because I was letting myself go, I was getting more and more deeply into the zone, and so therefore the thoughts disappeared about feeling anxious, about feeling people watching me, about not being able to do it. I can't do it. This is too hard. All those kind of thoughts disappeared because I was so focused on the sounds I was making and hearing around me and the vibration I could feel in my body, and it seemed to disappear everyone in the room as well. So there was all these amazing things that happened. And the connection that I felt with the person playing the bowl. I had my friend playing the bowl in time with my contraction. So there was this rhythm happening. And I feel that a lot of people love that part of sound birth. So, there was lots of benefits, and I just kind of put it all together and now share that with people, because afterwards I did some research, I just did some reading and looked at what toning is all about, which is just making sound on your exhalation and how that benefits people in general, not just during labour, and about the crystal singing bowls, more about those and how putting the 2 together, what that does, and then started to teach.
Fantastic. So basically you're saying that the impact of the sound was not just about your psychology, but was also helping you to relax physically? Is that?
Yeah, definitely physically relax. So what I learnt was that when you use your voice with the bowl, you can create these wah, 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 wah sounds, which is actually what is relaxing your brain into an alpha state. very quickly. Even just with the bowl, that will help you to relax into the alpha state. So that's what we're trying to aim for, I think, during labour, is getting out of the chitty-chatty beta mind, doing, busy, all of that we're normally in, into the more relaxed, but it's still alert state of mind. And that was definitely happening with me. I was even giggling in between contractions and just enjoying that experience because I was relaxed. My mind was relaxed. My mind became mush. I love creating mushy minds with my bowl.
Fantastic. And
yeah.
I'm not sure if this is exactly the correct word, but the concept of synesthesia, where there's a kind of a blending of the senses where you can feel sounds or hear colours, the mixing of the senses. Yeah, sounds like that is that your work with sound is actually a bit of a blend of that as well, of using the sound to allow the body to let go and open. And
I guess when you're getting out of the mind, then you're in more with your senses, and you can hear it, you can feel it in your chest, you can and you see colours, all of that.
And you work with this with pregnancy as well?
Yeah, so during pregnancy, I teach couples how to use their voice. So just give them ideas on how to tone, taking deep breaths and making that exhalation, and overcoming any voice issues. A lot of women have issues with making sound, like I did with my first 2 labours, and I think it's a bit dangerous having those issues during labour when you just want to express sometimes. Like I always say, if you kick your toe, then you want to let out something with your voice. It hurts more when you're holding it back because you're worried about what other people will think if you scream your head off. So I think during labour, it's just to know that you can use your voice as a tool to relax and to focus and to let go, and to kind of be aware of those issues that might come up. I can't sing, or someone told me I'm really bad at singing and shamed me when I was a kid, and that happens all the time. Or I was told to shut up, I shouldn't speak up, I shouldn't make sound. So being aware of those things, but then just doing it anyway.
I often use the phrase that the same things that hold us back in life will hold us back in birth, and that sounds like a prime example of how many times people are made small, and how that holds you back in life, and how it definitely holds you back from owning your power and owning your space, having freedom in birth. Which we all know brings the baby on.
Yeah, I know. And I definitely noticed that with my births. Yeah, just holding back, being afraid. But then as soon as I think using your voice, it just kind of brings you back into your power. And it just really helped me to release my babies.
One of the ways that birth into being intersects with that is that we use sound a lot in integrating after a process. So there's lots of different processes in the method, and one of them, and some of them involve a big shift, or a sort of stepping into of something new. And then after that, we use a sort of multi-sensory approach to integrating. So we will use gentle touch, sound and words, not in a linear way, but in a more poetic, lyrical way that doesn't engage the cortex but still feeds the concepts into the body and the body-mind. And very often there is, it's very open and creative, so there's generally other people in the group that will bring offerings, but very, very often we will set up some sort of a toning for the background to kind of support the nervous system of the person, and as they receive new information for their nervous system. And it's like a gift, this sort of very gentle and nurturing stimulation for the nervous system that just kind of helps to open up all the cells and allow the person to receive. So there's a bit of an overlay there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sounds can be used in so many ways.
Well, look, I haven't been to Perth yet, and I'm still waiting for an invitation to get me over there. But I would love to, if I come to do a workshop, I would love to invite you along to bring the bowls and see how we can explore this connection even more.
Together, sure, definitely.
Yeah. So what parts of the body do you feel that the sound that you're working with, either from the bowls or from other instruments or voice, what parts of the body or ways do you feel that it's communicating to the body?
It seems to be different for everybody. I do sound sessions with all of my bowls and gongs and flutes and everything. And
that's one of your gongs behind you, isn't it?
That's a gong, yes.
Beautiful.
And then I have a flute. So I play the Native American flute. And then I have a chime.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And I play different things, and an ocean drum, and all the instruments have a different effect on everybody. You know, different images come up for them. You know, that, like those chimes, feels, you know, so nurturing and childlike, and it reminds people of some childhood memory, or, you know, just little things. And the ocean drum sounds just like the waves of the ocean, so people go straight back onto the beach, you know, in their mind, and that's relaxing, because that's a relaxing moment. And some people feel tingles in their body and their shoulder, or their knee or leg, or they get pins and needles in their foot, or, you know, different things happen all the time, different responses. So I never claim that this is going to do this for you or anything like that. It's so personal. And it's really interesting. I find it really fascinating seeing what people say after a sound session. Yeah, it's exciting. But I mean, sound has the power. I mean, there's a lot of research about it, but sound can, they say it opens the chakras, and so, you know, people can get into the chakras with sound. I just feel it's more about sound. I use intention a lot. So if you are wanting to heal a part of your body or something like that, you just bring your attention to that part of your body while you're making sound with your voice, or you're listening to good quality sounds. But I think the voice is a very powerful healer, and we all have access to that all the time. And so it's a beautiful tool to use during labour, because whether you're having a home birth or you're on the way to hospital in the car, you can still use your voice in the hospital room. With a bowl in your voice, it creates this sacred space no matter where you are choosing to birth. And yeah, it's an accessible tool, and it's free. That's a good thing too.
You mentioned in our correspondence before doing this that you knew of a Ugandan story around song and in relation to pregnancy and birth.
He says, in one community in Uganda, a child's birth is believed to occur even before conception, when the mother first conceives of her in her mind. The mother's thoughts lead to the creation of a ululating song, a lullaby, that embodies her dream of the child. Once she has sung the song, the mother teaches it to her partner and then sings it with him as they make love. Throughout her pregnancy, imagine that happening. Beautiful, huh? Throughout her pregnancy, the woman continues to sing the song to her little one, and during birth, the midwives and old women welcome her with what they believe is a now familiar melody. Oh. Yeah. So it's this continuation, and they still use it. You know, when the child falls over and hurts themselves, they'll sing that song, and when they're older and when they die, they sing that song. So it's this I say it's like the umbilical cord that can never be cut, that song that you create right from the beginning, and it connects it creates that bond. It's so easy.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And a lot of that comes up intuitively. My partner is a musician, and so throughout my pregnancy there were numerous songs written and played and practiced continuously for the baby. Yeah. And then we very spontaneously broke into that song when, you know, once he was out and we were sort of settled, and he was still connected via the placenta, while we were singing this beautiful song in Hebrew. And yeah, my daughter has various songs as well that were made for her, and I'm not very musical, but I was moved to song and to songwriting quite a lot in my pregnancies. And Yeah, I do love to sing those songs for them occasionally now. They're 11 and 13, so we've moved on quite a bit. Yeah, but it's interesting how that relationship, when you're really taking the time to connect with your pregnancy and the baby and, how those sorts of things arise spontaneously. And then it's wonderfully affirming to hear that it's actually a practice in other countries.
A lot of pregnant women are told, oh, you need to connect with your baby, or and they feel that pressure. Or how do I connect with my baby? I can't see it. I can't feel it. I can't. Like, what does that actually mean? I said, well, one thing you could try is to sing to your baby, because I feel like it's more of an intention. So when you're singing that song, especially if it's something you've created for your baby, your intention is completely on that child inside you. And it's one way that women are finding it's easier to connect, because it's such a funny word sometimes when it's especially when it's your first baby. How do you connect with this bump here? I don't understand. But singing really helps. Yeah, and the same with conception too. Like if you're trying to bring a baby in, then singing has this ability also to let go. So I think when you're trying to bring that baby in and you're like so desperate for this baby, and you're holding on so tight to wanting this baby, it's kind of preventing the baby from coming in. So that when you're singing, you let go and you feel bigger and connected, and you can imagine more of that connection and the baby coming to you. So yeah, it's another really cool tool to try.
Yeah, and it's very beautiful to think of both drawing in, try and do that in a way where people can see, to be both drawing in and letting go all at the same time. Like that's, it's beautiful. What an exquisite tool, really. Yeah.
And you don't have to be musical to do it. You don't have to think. If you think you're not musical, you can still do it. That's the best thing.
Yeah, as I found.
Yeah.
And I treasure those songs. Yeah. And how do you think it is for a baby to be receiving?
Yeah, the baby.
Not only the physiological sort of relaxation and release of stress of the mother, and the psychological well-being that she's experiencing as she lets go and releases her fears and releases and embraces with her singing. How do you think it is for a baby with their sponge-like nervous systems and the like?
The baby would be soaking that up. Definitely. They would sense that, before they come in, and during pregnancy they're feeling that vibration in their body, and they're hearing that their mother's voice is the sound that they prefer over any other sound. They've shown that, and then they come out, and they're actually they found that when the mums do sing during pregnancy and labour, that the babies come out and they're calmer, and especially because they're hearing the mother's voice. I mean, if you're singing while they're pregnant, then the mother's bound to sing when they have their baby in their arms, and that's because that's been their world. It's been their world, their mother's voice. Then that continuation of their mother's voice is their world. It's how they feel safe in the world. They come out into this strange place, and the thing that they grab onto is the boob most of the time, and their mother's skin, the touch, and the voice. And it's so simple to just give that to them.
Yeah, it's like a little, like a security blanket or a cozy sort of a wrap, an energetic wrap for the baby.
And here's one of those quotes that says just what you said. What better way to reassure a newborn, to wrap him in a warm security blanket or familiarity and beauty, than by accompanying his entire entry into this world with recordings of the transcendently beautiful music he has listened to all of his life. Well, that's about listening to music, but the mother's voice is much better than just listening to music. It's there all the time.
I love to think about the way that the sound would be resonating through the through the waters of the womb as well.
And it resonates much better through water than through air. So it's always there. Before the babies can hear, they're feeling through their skin. So it's the first sensation they feel as a human is the vibration of the sound on their skin.
And in the beginning, there was the sound.
There was the sound, and Big Bang, yes. The world was created.
Yeah,
it's the most ancient tool in the universe.
Yeah. I've been pretty drawn to the work of, I think it's Masaru Emoto, the Japanese scientist who was working with water crystals. Fantastic. Masuri, is it?
Tsuru, yes.
Tsuru. So his work is absolutely amazing. And you mentioned previously something about his experiments with water and sound.
Yeah, he used to expose pieces of music to water and then take photographs of the water crystal, the frozen water, after it had been exposed or during, I can't remember. But then he'd get beautiful shapes of water crystals. So that's Debussy. He's got lots of Debussy's there. And yeah, they're beautiful shapes. And then he did it with intention as well. So, you know, he had, he says, "I love you" to the water, and takes a photo, and compared to "I hate you," takes a photo, and it's all murky and disgusting. Yeah. And same with like heavy metal music was all murky and gross, and energies of people as well. There was Hitler, there was Mother Teresa. They're just completely different energies. So, yeah, I love that. It's so exciting, science.
Yeah, totally. And look, there's so many ways that I think water, it's like magic. It's my favourite element. And I've begun to work with Watsu, which is a form of massage in water, and I wouldn't even call it massage, it's movement and healing in water. And it works perfectly with the birth into being method. And yeah, there's a lot of ways in which integration and things like that are just completely supported by the use of water. So it's exciting for me to think about the correlations with sound as well.
Yeah, I can imagine it make you feel like you're in the womb when you're floating around, and
it's magic. Absolute magic.
Being held by someone. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and with the use of water, the use of sound as well, kind of feeding into that experience. It's watch this space for more on that, because I started studying it last year, and I'm really looking forward to exploring it more as an integration tool with the birth into being method.
You could sing to your clients while you're holding them in the water.
Yeah, we have very often used song for different integration, and I've been fantasizing actually about inviting a flautist and a harpist to the workshops that I've done in the pool, and of course the water is really warm and delicious, and it's because the whole idea of the birth into being method, I was going to say the whole idea of neuroplasticity, but actually it's the way that it's applied in the birth into being method as a multisensory approach. Means that there's just, how we're all different learners. Some people learn through auditory stimulation, others like to read, others like to watch things. And I think it's the same when we're dealing with our nervous system and with integrating different shifts that we may have done in a process. Different things appeal to all of us. And so sound is huge, which is what attracted me to your work and to having this conversation, because I think there's a lot of magic there. And so there's lots of different tools and techniques that we can use for integration, and different ones will appeal to different people. So I wanted to ask you about conscious conception and bringing babies in with as much love and awareness and real intention, and whether or not you think that could be supported by sound.
Yeah, well, like that quote where you're singing, you know, the woman goes out there and she conceives, the first time she conceives of having a baby, and so she goes out there and just knows, just has this knowing that this is the moment where she's going to conceive this baby. And so she conceives this, you know, gets this song made up, bang, and then goes and does it. It's like this confidence, this sense of confidence, isn't it, as well? Like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to call that baby in. And yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool to use your voice for that time. But mostly, I mean, it's mostly intention and that love and that yearning and the I can feel it. Except I'm not having any more. I've already had 4, so don't get me there.
Yeah, stop
that conversation. But you tell me more about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sounds very beautiful, and it sounds like a very proactive approach rather than, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me and I'm not conceiving, and let's look at all the different reasons possibly why. It's more about moving towards the experience.
Yeah, because I've found that a lot of people, when it comes to intention or just life in general, people are whinging and whining and I can't, this isn't happening, blah, blah, blah. And then it just keeps not happening. They keep getting stressed. Their body is stressed. They get unwell. And rather than just thinking about what they do want and really getting into the details of what you want and how that feels and talking about, you know, what it feels like just play pretend like kids do all the time. Kids are playing pretend all the time. So let's just talk about what it feels like to be holding my baby right now. And I don't have one right now, but let's just pretend that I do and really get into the feeling of how I feel holding this baby, how joyful I feel, what the baby feels like to touch, and how I feel as a person, feel empowered rather than, so yeah, that's what I've been getting more into lately, the manifestation process, and how we just can't afford to be talking and whinging and whining about things, and being proactive about it means talking about it in a more positive way. As well, because talking and singing, it's the same thing. It's letting out a sound, letting the thoughts come out of your body out there into the world. So it's you've got to be careful what you say.
They say that humans have a very strong negative bias, and it's something to do with our beginnings as vulnerable beings on the sort of, you know, scale of predators to victims, you know, that initially we were quite vulnerable, and that somehow or other that has neurobiologically affected us to have a stronger negative bias than a positive one. So definitely there's always work for us to be done in that field. And yeah, the birth into being approach on that subject is definitely one of dream it up. You know, if you can't dream it, it's very unlikely that you can have it. And yeah, a lot of our work centres around recreating and reimagining our biggest, grandest, highest, most magnificent version of ourselves and our interrelation with the world. And yeah. It's so beautiful to talk to you, Nicole, and I feel like we could talk for hours, but we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing about your modality with us. Where can we find out more about you and about Soundbirth?
Yep, so www.soundbirth.com.au is my website, and you can find Soundbirth on Facebook, and Nicole Lloyd on Facebook, and yeah.
Wonderful.
Where you find me.
Wonderful. And likewise with Birth Into Being, you can find us on birthintobeing.com or .com.au. I'm really interested in hearing responses. If something that we've talked about here has excited or enlightened or brought up questions for you, please put something in the comments or write to me, and let's engage. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.